In that case, if we're live, hi! Hello, everybody. Welcome to the ICC draw for week one of season four, I think, unless I've completely lost track of time. Hi, I'm Ronny. I am joined here by Dylan, the Sejanus to my Emperor Tiberius. Don't look up how that ended, but I'm going for an academic joke. Maybe it worked. Hey, Dylan, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Enjoying my rare 49-hour weekend. Daylight
Oh, of
savings
course,
time.
yeah, of course. Yep, completely threw me off as well. I managed to book a Mimir for the same time as my team's OQO US game, so I think I made the right decision by doing what I did. Anyway, yeah, welcome. We'll be doing the draw. To save some time, because it is 9 o'clock in the UK and I am exhausted, we'll be doing getting games drawn in blocks of four and then discussing them as a block rather than individual, because we don't want to spend 4 hours here because that would take it to 1 o'clock, and by the end of it, it would just be me sniping at anybody. It still will be, but it would be more me rather hostile sniping at people.
I mean, I
So,
can just vamp while you like take a nap in the background.
I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. I'll just take a quick 15-minute power nap, and you could just do a soliloquy. It'd be great. Maybe for week two.
Yeah,
Let's get.
every new subscriber increases Ronnie's nap length by 5 minutes. Get at it, folks.
Oh, useful. Yeah, let's just drop a couple of Twitch emojis in there, and well, make it happen, please. Give us games 1 to 4. Okay, I should probably also get it open here. There we go. Okay, game number one, if I've got this correct, is Gordon McGregor, Thomas Keating, our seed Gear Christensen, and seat for Beck Duggleby. Is that correct, Will? Have I got those in the right order? Technical difficulties, please stand by. If you
Yeah,
can just imagine, yeah,
I can't see names.
no. Just play some music in the background, people, while we wait for the technical difficulties to subside. Da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. While we're waiting, then, what are you, Dylan? You weren't in one of the recent seasons, were you? I think you've played two or three. Did you?
Yeah, I played the first two and then I took a break. It was the time of year where I'm traveling a lot on the weekends,
Yeah,
and that is not particularly compatible with doing like six online quiz leagues at once.
yeah. I feel that I've definitely dropped out of stuff, just not being able to have time. But did you actually see the stuff that came up in the last season? And are you looking forward to anything in particular this time, like subjects that haven't turned up?
I am honestly, I think, almost completely in the dark on what came up last season. That may lead to a hilarious wrong answer at some point, but we'll see how that goes.
And no hilarious wrong answers here. Wrong answers, but anyone who laughs at a wrong answer is a dick. Personally, I'm looking forward to some more architecture because I like it, and it doesn't turn up nearly as much for something that we all literally see every day and live in.
I do love looking at buildings.
Yeah, gotta say, more songs about buildings and food is two things that I want to turn up in ICC as well as PCC. Okay, are we working? There are definitely numbers, and they've definitely been arranged in an order. I'm, thank you, Aiden. I'm already being abused there. That's pretty much what I expected. Um, thanks a bunch. Be fair, the fact there's only one insult at least so far in the chat is a small a small blessing. It's a silver lining.
All right, I'm gonna see if I can pull up chat without completely bricking like my audio setup.
I don't plan on listening to any of it because if I hear my own voice, everything will go terribly wrong, and I will just start stuttering.
I will like literally like melt into a blob if I hear the sound of my own voice.
We can endeavor to make that not happen because it would be very difficult for you to play your games and have your hand showing as just a blob.
At least I
There we,
wouldn't miss any bonuses.
well, there we go. 100% bonus conversion rate for the blob. It's all a silver lining.
Gonna be so good
Okay.
at the question on 433.
But That's the best you're getting. You got a pity giggle. Okay. I think we're working around it, people. The purpose-built tool has decided to have a tantrum. We are going to the old standby of Google Sheets. Shout out to Google. Anti-shout out to Elon Musk for buying Twitter, but God, hasn't that been funny lately? Would the events of the last week or so on Twitter be pop culture or international culture? You think I could fit it into PCC 5?
I mean, it straight up might change like within the course of this league if it
Mm.
breaks the economy.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, we could actually have the first quad that is what is Elon Musk's net worth? Player two, what is Elon Musk's net worth? And just track it as it goes along. All right. That's oh yeah, I'm seeing the card. It's a good card. There's a lot of international culture on there. Francis in there with Ronnie Jackson. Isn't he a former presidential doctor? Thanks, Francis. Thanks. I desperately wanted to be reminded of that massive dickhead.
Why can I only see like 4 of the 17 comments? I want to see the good stuff.
Oh no, I mean most of it was just Emma and Aiden talking, so none of it was going to be good stuff.
Yeah, they're lovely people.
Don't I can't roast people if you're going to be nice about them. Okay, right, let's try this again. Welcome, people. Google Sheets it is, the purpose-built tool not working. Here is your first set of 4 games. So, match number one. Gordon McGregor, Thomas Keating, Gear Christensen, and Beck Duggleby. Gear is the seed in this one. Apologies if I'm pronouncing that name incorrectly, which I probably am. Number two, Will Vince, Joshua McCune, teammate of mine, Ethan Webb, and Andy Greeley. Andy being the seed there. Match three, Prakar Gupta, Ross Taylor, Sean Drury, and Jake Denny. Prakar is the seed there. And lastly, Choyan Manjekra, Tony Monroe, Thomas DeBark, another teammate of mine, and Oyston Advoknik. Thomas is the seed there. So, Dylan, take it away. First question, Beck Duggleby is a name I've seen a few times. I think he's a Quizball related person. What is his background or their background, just in case?
I know that Beck's strongest categories are like geography and things of that nature. So definitely a bit of an opportunity to potentially go off there
Mm,
with the right side against the right people.
mm,
But I think that Gare is overall a very strong
mm.
player who should likely be favored here.
Gear's definitely been at the Ultimate Quiz Championships playing for the Norwegian team, so you don't get to be a national team member without being decent at it. Other stuff in I mean, Tom de Bock also there representing Belgium was one of the teams, one of the players in the club that won gold, along with Kevin Ashman, Victoria Gross, and Thomas Coloseta, two of whom were in this draw. Um, Andy Greeley is the seed. I don't know him that well. What's his detail? What's his deal?
I actually know that Andy is like a pretty strong overall like academic player. He's gone on some deep Mimir's well runs, but I can't tell you what his like category splits are. But he certainly knows quite a bit of stuff.
No, that's fair enough. If we'd been more prepared, we would have, but we're not. Um, I know Josh McCune is very much a linguistics and a languages guy, so something that plays their strengths of geography and linguistics and could do some damage. But I think Andy could probably take that one. Um, you see any upsets there, or do you think the seeds are most likely to come number one in all of these?
I think that this might be pretty chalk for the seeds. Oystein is a name that I have seen around, but I don't really know much about.
Again, I think also participated at the UQC. Don't take my word for it. The website is out there because God forbid you shouldn't expect me to do actual research. Uh, but yeah, I think certainly in that last game, Tom probably has what it takes to be top there. He's got a very nice wide range of stuff and can go deep in some categories, but there's going to be no Formula One because this is culture, Tom. Sorry to break it to you.
I mean, there could always be a science quad on like how engines work.
There could, and if there is, I will be quitting the tournament immediately. Thank you. All right, Will, moving on. Give us 5 to 8, please. There we go. What have we got? So, John Clatworthy, Issa Schultz, Chandler West, and Bogdan Gigio Topan. Issa, the seed there. Luke Beresford, Brian Craythorne, Neil DeMarco, and Josh Mandel. I believe Brian is the seed in that one. Let me just double. Yep. Brian, the seed in that one. Taylor Harvey, Graham Cope, Judy Bratvold, and Harry Paramaswaran. I know Taylor's the seed there. And lastly, Dave McBrien, Aidan Lynch, Sue Fogarty, and Adam Hancock. Aidan will be loving this draw because Dave is definitely the seed. Taylor Harvey, I believe, is a Florida Quiz Bowl player. I know very highly rated, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Taylor was one of the top players on the team that won ACF Nationals in God, I have to count now, 2021. Super deep on most of the humanities, maybe a contender for the single best film player in the field, even though that's a pretty tight competition. And also has some sauce on science. I believe he works in nuclear engineering or something similar to that.
Oh, so he might well just not just have the academic stuff, but almost the lived experience sort that you only get from working in the field. That's doubtless going to be a big thing. Issa, obviously, if you're not aware, Issa are one of the possibly the best player coming out of I say coming out of the best player from Australia. The super nerd on the Chase Australia made a couple of appearances over here. Annoyingly, I have played him and I've read for him and I played against him. He goes very deep on a couple of subjects as well, and he's just got again a very broad range. There's no one area to my knowledge that you can look at him and reliably think you could take points off him, which is going to be difficult for the others. Best of luck, everyone in that game. Uh, David Bryan, one mastermind. Again, I've got to do some counting. I believe 3 seasons ago. Um, also does a lot of work, edits for the QLL, writes for QLL, does a lot of work with the Connections League, just generally kind of a jack of all trades. For somebody who his crust is pub quizzes and that, I do know he also does very well on kind of, I believe history, I think history and geography. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So best of luck, Aiden, there. I would say I'll be rooting for you, but you call me horrible names, so go Dave. Um, any other names in that block that jump out to you?
I will single out Chandler West as someone who has not done a lot of online quizzing, but has played plenty of Quiz Bowl over the last few
Mm,
years and reads a lot of books. So if there's a particularly literature heavy set, then I think they could pull off an upset or at least stack a lot of
yeah,
points.
you heard it here, folks. Reading a lot of books, good for quizzing. Okay, thank you kindly. Next set of matches, will please 9 to 12. Oh, there I am. Okay, number 9, Manu Sadaka, John Van Maris, Pravin Varma, and Max Fitzjames. I'm fairly sure that Max, yeah, is the seed there. Number 10, Jeff Frank, Zach Foster, yours truly, and Ross Evans. Ross is the seed. Aaron Levine, Evan Lynch, Hugh Meredith, and Alison Rose. Then Scott Blish, Cheyenne Fletcher, Joseph O'Donoghue, and Addie Lewis. Right, well, uh, I really wanted an easy draw, and what I've got there is not an easy draw. Um, Tell me about Jeff Frank, just so I know what to expect.
Knows a good amount of stuff, has a good has some pretty good just like quiz instincts. Not primarily a highbrow player, but certainly has the breadth to be able to hang in this game that seems to just have like four very good players in it.
Yeah, that's my fear. Obviously, I played with Zach. I played with Zach as part of my team in OQL, so I know his knowledge of British content in particular is much deeper than mine, which is just embarrassing considering I live here and he doesn't. History is definitely a specialty, but on the whole, I know he could do his deep cuts if he can reliably get the level 1 and 2 questions. I think he can do quite a bit of damage. I don't know that he's necessarily favourite over Ross. Ross is kind of fighting one-on-one with Issa as the best Australian player out there. And again, having read for him a few times, I know his stuff very much slants towards the academic. So I am fully expected to come fourth in this one, and I'll be happy with a decent showing.
Yeah, I could see anything happening in that game. I could see like a super grindy game where everybody's super close and owns, or I could just see like one quad allowing somebody to pop off.
Yep, video games it is. Other the games, obviously Evan Lynch. Not much really needs to be said about Evan. He's just been at the top of the game, one of the best players in the UK for quite a while. Scott Blish coming back to quiz after a hiatus. Welcome back, Scott. He chose his first game to come back to be against my team in OQL US and destroyed us. And yeah, welcome back. I wish you hadn't picked that game to do it. The game number 9, Max Fitzjames was a former University Challenge winner. I don't recognize any of the other names except vaguely from MIM as well. I don't know if you've played against any of them or could have any insight.
I don't think I've played against any of these folks. I have played in, I think, OQO UK playtesting sessions with Max. Definitely goes pretty deep on some humanities stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, I forget what Max studied, but he was definitely a big part of the University Challenge winning team. And again, it's not something that you can win if you're just sitting there and being carried along. Uh, do we think that any of these seeds are going to get upset in this game either, or this block?
I think the game 10 is potentially wide open, but a lot of that is just I haven't seen Ross play. So it's quite possible that I'm underrating him. But this is definitely the most evenly matched game that I can see on the list right now.
Thank you very much. And if I weren't here, would you be saying the same thing? Moving on, 30 to 16, if you would please. Thank you kindly, Owen, for saying it's a stat game 10. I don't believe it, but there we go. Okay, 13, Udata Dwara, Steve Bannerman, Andrew Story, and Gigi George, Steve the Seed there. Lyle Brenner, Gillian Tatzel, Alexandra Hardwick, and Maris Bogdan Tudor. Alex is the seed there. Francis Clark Murray, Alan Lynn, Martin Ocon, or Ochon, apologies if that's wrong, and Dhruv Sharma, Alan seeded. And Quinn McGarry, Jonathan Gibson, Harish Bapur, Brian Thompson. Steve Bannerman stepping into the fray once again. Does that look like a threat of a game to him, or do you think he's good enough to take that?
Uh, I would say that Steve is almost certainly favored in this game, but I can't say I know enough about the other three to say that like with that much confidence.
No, it's fair enough.
Steve is a very strong all-around player.
Hmm. Well, it's certainly, I believe, uh, runner up in Mim as Learned League. Certainly in the first Mim as well final. I think he's always have troubled the top spots in that when he's played, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Because
he's cracked a few Mimir's Well finals,
yeah,
done very well in the Learned League Championship.
yeah, and again, just generally clearly has that breadth of knowledge. The game 14, Alex, a teammate of mine, works as a classics lecturer and very much just goes incredibly deep on that as a subject, but also is the seed on the grounds of making, I believe, making tier one last year. Had a general, yeah, I've got the seeds here. Tier one last year, tier three the season before that, and not in the top 4 tiers before that. So a steady increase. No reason to think that she can't win this game. Marius is quite good, though. I know Marius is a Romanian international. Either of the other two names familiar to you?
Yeah, Jillian is a fellow Chicagoan, plays like 5 million online quizzes, knows a fair amount of stuff, could definitely get some points. I don't think that she's quite on the level of Alex or Marius, but definitely someone to keep in mind.
Can always take points off people. Um, Jonathan Gibson, again, another mastermind winner. We've just got a overflowing with that there. Certainly favoured, but Brian Thompson is, I believe, an MQL Merseyside Quiz League stalwart. If the set sort of leans in that direction as well as to be an academic, I could see Brian doing some damage. Quinn McGarry, Harish, either name one of yours.
I'm not really familiar with either of those.
Nah, no worries, no worries. And then the 15 is the interesting one because Alan Lynn being the seed, Francis is one of the people I picked out as a very strong non-seed. I think there's some
Yeah,
absolute upset potential with her.
I think this game is low key crazy.
Mm,
Martin puts up very high scores in OQL USA and has done pretty well in quizzes in general. I think won some stuff at SporacleCon a couple of weeks back.
oh, I wasn't aware of that. I think Dhruv, I believe, is works in the sciences. I think lives in France, if I remember correct. But I think actually, if I were going to pick one that for an upset, I think Francis over Alan. It might be controversial. I'm sorry if I'm underrating you, Alan, but I'll put my cards on the table and say go Francis. Something.
Yeah, this game I think has potential for like a lot of players to potentially have open lanes, but it's gonna probably come down to the packet. Lots of good
Yes.
players here.
Yeah. I mean, every set will always come down to the packet, but this one sort of. Yeah, I very much get your point there. Even though I'm babbling, it doesn't sound like I did. Well, next set of games, please, so I don't embarrass myself further. Okay. We had a University Challenge winner before. We have another one here. James Devine, Stoneman the Seed, Matthew Wiggle, Anthony Martins, and Dave Trent. Then Paul Calotti, Nick Mortimer, Vince O'Connor, and Hannah McIntyre. I believe Paul is seeded there. Yep. Paul is the seed. Dave Atherton, David Smith, Andrew Fraser, and Andy Crane. I believe an all British one there. And Matt Prescott, Ananya Deb, Daniel Lee, and Stanley Wang. So, uh, tell me about Jayanthi because I know she's an American player, and I get the impression she's sort of kind of underrated actually. Loki quite good without getting a huge amount of plaudits for it.
I would believe that. I actually don't know if I've ever played against Jayanthi.
Okay.
She's a wonderful reader and
Mm,
good company to have around, but I don't really know like where her expertises lie. But certainly a strong player in this game.
yeah, James I know is very much good on the sciences. Got a lot of attention for superconducting spintronics as a PhD subject, mostly from me wondering what the hell that was. So I still haven't learned. Please teach me, James. Um, Stanley Wang as well in 20, yet another teammate of mine because I play with apparently everybody. I've said many times while I was playing with him on Dio. I think Stanley was the best player on that team, which was myself, Tom DeBock, Emma Laslet, all on that team. I think Stanley was probably the best one of us, and again, somebody who doesn't often get the respect that he should because he doesn't participate in a lot of competitions and isn't doesn't shout a lot on the internet about it, but he is very good just on all round, but also works in an IT background, has some good science and computer science knowledge and the stuff that if I don't know it, I can normally look over to Stanley. He's normally got it covered on the academic side. I read a game for them this season, and he picked up a couple of quite hard philosophy stuff without even blinking. So I would absolutely back him to go there. Anyone else in this block that you think is worth shouting out?
Chat brings up Matthew Riggle, who played collegiate quiz bowl at Western Kentucky for a while.
Ooh.
So even just that like quiz bowl knowledge base can often lead to quite a lot of
Mm.
points.
Yeah, I guess I think there's always a thing about how much a set is quiz bowl friendly versus not quiz bowl friendly will maybe swing the game. If it's not sort of quiz bowl canon friendly, then maybe Matthew could sneak something there, which sounds like I'm just underrating him again. In 19 as well, Andrew Fraser, notorious for being just extremely good on history. Anything that goes deep on the classics, and I would bet philosophy as well, is always going to favour him. And I think I'd take him as an unquestionable favourite there. Um, 18, I don't know about Hannah, but the other three are definitely all Brits. Brits and sort of British Isles, Great Britain. I could see Nick Mortimer sneaking that as well because I know he's a chase writer, has done just again has the general knowledge that comes of that, and if the hard stuff falls in areas that he feels comfortable on, I could see him picking that one up. I'd say I'd pick that as an upset over Paul. Apologies, Paul, because I'm clearly underrating you as well, but hey, don't worry. Later on in the draw, when I'm more tired, I'll just get more abusive over everybody. It's fine. All right, but Will, 21 to 24, please. Okay, number one, Ryan Bilger or Bilger, Martin Potorowski, David Edwards, and Ben Hubner. Abu Sankarankuti, Charlie Bowen, Saraj Mahapatra, and Sarah Trevathan. Stephen Hammond, Dmitry Fedorov, Tor Dahl, and Ezgi Ustundak, and Ian Fennell, Ian Riddock, Zach Nullick, and Emma Luslet. So I think the seeds we've got here are Ryan, Charlie, Tor, and Emma. Ryan, one of your side?
Yep, former East Coast quiz bowl player at various institutions. Excellent at American history, the arts, and has that base quiz bowl canon.
Basically, yeah. I think I saw somebody reference him in another thread. It may have been Scott Blish as being ranked as one of the best art players on the circuit at one point. I think it may actually be Ryan himself saying it. So, props for shouting yourself out. Game 22, Charlie is the seed. Sarah is, I noted down ahead of time, a massive banana skin for anybody who draws her because I don't believe Sarah had any background in quiz before. A couple of years ago, everything went online, but she's come effectively out of nowhere and just become a top tier player, absolute just high tier wide-ranging stuff. I don't know necessarily about the higher brow stuff, but I think Charlie has certainly a fight on his hands from Sarah. Apologies after apologies so much. I don't have a whole lot of information about the Asian quizzes here, but I think that would be a really good fight.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
Yeah. Zach Narlik as well. I think he's a quiz bowler. He's one of yours.
I don't know if he's playing any quiz bowl. I know he plays OQL, and he proctored my Learned League
Yeah,
championship last year, so props to Zach for that.
yeah. I should really stop saying quiz bowler one of yours just to pigeonhole all Americans as quiz bowlers. I know I know they don't exist. I know non-American American non-quiz bowlers are out there.
American quiz bowlers, you answer to me now.
There we go. Dylan is your Lord and Savior. Getting Emma is always going to be a tough draw for anybody. So good luck, Ian's, good luck, Zach. Again, having played with her in multiple formats across multiple leagues, her big strength is the religion and myth side of things. Like she has a huge amount of depth in I honestly can't remember how she quotes it, but kind of the Eastern religions, the Middle East, and the mysticism stuff. Anything that comes up in that category, I could see her going 4 for 4 on that game fairly easily. It wouldn't.
Also, as you well know, extremely cracked at Only Connect, so any sort of quad that involves a little bit of lateral puzzle solving might be right
Yeah,
up your alley.
yeah. Frighteningly fast at missing vowels and never lets me forget it. But again, there's no video games here, so maybe that will be the great equaler. Anybody else in there who's from your side?
A lot of names I do not know
Fair enough.
in this one, but I know the seeds are all very strong players here,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
Sarah is going to be a very tough out for an unseeded
Mm.
player.
I think Tordal is, I believe Tor is Norwegian. I believe he's also at the UQC. Has been seeded on the basis of a season 1 performance, but didn't make the top 4 tiers in the last couple, according to my wonderful spreadsheet that's been provided for me. So I wonder if there's a way in for Dimitri to sneak something, because he was tier 5 in season 2. There may well be some upset potential there. I'm curious to see if anyone's got some stuff in the chat.
My guess,
Yep.
based on just those standing splits, is that there are a few categories that Tora goes super deep on. And I think I've seen his name a lot in like mentions of Musketeers in Mimir as well.
Well, which would make sense if you've got the deep knowledge on the harder quads. Yeah. Yes, Guy, massive banana skins, dangerous in Mario Kart. There's the video game content you wanted. Anyway, thank you very much. Will, next batch of games. Okay. Jason Hess, almost certainly the seed there. Krishna Murphy Viswanathan, Jane Hanson, Jack Sterling, Shane Whitlock, again, I believe the seed. Christian Cramso, Ros James, and Stephen Beninjo. Justin Wong, Paul Compton, Matthew Nail, and Pat Gibson. Guess who's the seed there? And Vinod Sasidaran, Ben Jones, Matt Booth, Harry Shaw. I will double check who's the seed in there. If that's Matt Booth is the seed, and if that is Ben Russell Jones, then
That's two good ones.
that is a nasty surprise of a game for somebody. And I say this, I'm underrating Harry Shaw, who, I mean, Harry Shaw does an incredible amount of reading and helps us out there. So thanks, Harry. But I have also seen him get some pretty bagging scores in MIM as well. And I think ICC last time as well, like potentially sneaky good. That is a game that could absolutely hinge on the set. No diss to Matt Booth, who I know is a maths background, so probably has a lot of science sewn up. But if that's the notorious BRJ, then there's going to be a glorious fight there, and I'm on board for it as a neutral. Who else we got? Shane Whitlock, Jason Hess. They are Americans. That's your area.
Yep, and I know that Shane is a doctor, so that is potential for some huge points if there's like a tough biology quad or something like that, and just a very strong all-around academic player. Jason, I think, works in something sort of scientific, so you may potentially have that open lane as well. I know that I think I might be basing that 90% on the fact that there was a very difficult electronics quad 2 seasons ago that he musketeered in the playoffs.
I mean, it's fair enough. If you get somebody who either they've gone deep into the reading or they know it from work. Unfortunately, I just get vague tech startup and lore.
And also has made Mimir's Well finals appearances, if that wasn't enough.
Yeah. Well, small praise from Scott Blish, who says Jason Hess is simply one of the world's best players, no weaknesses. Best of luck. A chat actually scrolling back up to find out who it was who said it, but Greg from Match 25 Krishna is Greg's teammate, described him as incredibly strong on maths and lots of other good knowledge, but a big math player. So definitely looking like a possibility for a second behind best player, one of the best players in the world, Jason Hess. Good luck, Jason. I hope I haven't doomed you with that. 27, not to leave you out, but it's Pat Gibson. I mean, if
Yeah,
somebody manages to take down Pat, they should just retire there and then.
yeah, Pat doesn't spend hours of the day melting his brain on Facebook like the rest of us, so there's no way he's going to lose this competition.
How dare you suggest that my brain has been melted from getting into arguments on Twitter? It has, but how dare you suggest it? Okay, next bunch of games, if you would, please, Will. Number 29, Phil Small, seeded in that game. Caleb Lowe, Lauren Burton, Ben Hales. Number 30, Jason King, Karen Alford, Mick Logan, Tom Benson. Number 31, Debashu Mita, Raghavir Mukamala, Owen O'Reilly, and Niku Perejug. And Clive Dunning, Annabelle Lloyd, Ian Vellante, and David Howarth. Now, Phil Small, one of the OQL setters, and has made very great pains to say he wanted to make clear how much he respected me as a quizzer and a person in the chat today once he found out I was doing this. So thank you, Phil. Much appreciated. Uh, Lauren, I played with for a couple of seasons in OQL US. I know he's got a lot of good history knowledge, especially in the American side of things. So quads obviously going there is going to benefit him. But Phil, for somebody who admittedly doesn't claims not to do a lot of work into it, he's recently he's embraced flashcarding as a tool to improve, and much respect to him. He's I think he's one of the top scorers in the QLL this year, and the work he's put in both there and setting is obviously paying off. Who here is an American who jumps out to you?
You already brought him up, but Lauren Burt, my former teammate in our sadly departed QB league, peace be upon it. Very deep on history stuff. I think knows quite a bit of classical music too. The Smith of the recent Giuseppe
Mm.
Verdi 1D and Learned League.
Yeah, that's that tracks now. I remember it. I think he was the one who taught me about Toscanini. Um, Owen O'Reilly is a name that I've not encountered myself. I think I played against him in one game at a tournament in the summer, but I know he's been sort of lighting up Quiz Bowl quite recently. I believe he's fairly young as well, so is another one of the unfortunate people who is younger than me and better than me, and how dare they do that? Seeded there and absolutely deserves to be. Best of luck to the others in that game to try and take stuff off him. Clive Dunning, I believe he's a Master One champion. I think a Brain of Britain champion. Like has done kind of the works. Is very much a decorated player. No sort of any quiz bowl background or anything like that, but has absolutely got the skill to have it just to generally have a deep run here. So good luck Ian, good luck Annabelle, good luck David. Um, any other names there that look like they should be shouted out? If you'll excuse my cat getting in the way, George, get out of the way, you sod.
Hello, George.
Out, move.
I will also spotlight Owen. 2 seasons ago, the last time I played this league, he drew me. He drew me week one, and that was a banger of a match. And definitely, assuming that the line is continuing to go up on his knowledge, this seed is well deserved.
Mm. Chat is happily doing a couple of things. Scott mentions Lauren is dangerous, and this removes most of his weaknesses, the pop culture side. Zach commenting, Raghavir will hit hard on the world content and categories you don't see as much, which is actually a fair way to take it. There will be content on sort of in Indian content. I know there's been lots of Indian mythology and the Vedas that when testing I've known absolutely nothing about, and I think obviously the Indian players will get a boost from that. So sets that lean that way are only ever going to benefit people like Raghavir.
I believe he also, unless I am mixing up my quizzers, also is based out of Switzerland. So there's some of that continental Europe content as well that could help him out.
May well be. I believe Krakar, who we already had Drew, was based at Switzerland, and I think worked at CERN for a while. So continental content plus a science background again explains why they're seeded, really. Phil Small in the chat has already said, "I've never touched a flashcard, Jackson. I will be suing." Thanks, Phil. Will, next bunch of games, if you would.
Where will you find a lawyer in a league full of quizzers?
He's going to get John Stitcher. It'll be fine. Number 33, Dave Gregson, recently PCC Grand Final contender. Courtney Campbell, Trevor Alexander, Mario Fernando, Trevor the Seed. 34, Jin Feng, Jeff King, Paul Hammond, and Anup Kumar, Jeff the seeded man there. 35, Kresimir Melnick, Peter Frill, Nick Jensen, and Sarah Perbrick. I would check, but I think that's Nick is the seed on that one. Yes, he is. And 36, Tom Speller, Chris King, Robert Crawley, and Chris Ottolino. I believe that's going to be Ottolino who is the seed. Yeah. I actually came a couple of hours ago, was playing Tom in a Mimir, and it was a bruising game for us all. Anyway, Jeff King, Chris Ottolino, very much always troubling the top of the OQL standings. Talk to me, tell me.
They're both really good. They both know a lot of stuff. They both have a lot of cards. So always seem to be thorns in my side as well. But very, very strong players who are not worth sleeping on for overall contention. And then Nick Jensen, one of the current best active Quiz Bowl players, as someone who has played tournaments with him, like if it's a question on a animal or another country, he's almost certainly going to get it.
That is, I mean, that rules in a whole lot of stuff. Other countries and animals. Looking at it, he's been seeded on the basis he played in the first one of this made tier 2, and presumably then the Quiz Bowl stuff is also factored into that 2 seasons out, but coming back in as one of the best in the circuit. Not much more to say about that. Robert Crawley, good luck. One of the younger players. He's a real up and comer. I think he puts in a whole lot of work to improve as well. So good luck, and I look forward to seeing him in the higher tiers, possibly in later seasons. Best of luck to everybody here. Chris King, if this is the person I think it is, I believe he writes a email blast loaded questions, which by all means go forth, search them out. If this is the Chris King I'm thinking of, his loaded question blasts are always they're generally very difficult but very well written stuff. If he can take that knowledge and apply it, he might well be a dark horse. This is assuming it is that Chris King. If it's not, I'm talking rubbish.
Yeah,
What else? What else is new?
this game 36 is looking pretty good. Assuming this is also the Chris King who is a frequent Div 1 OQL USA player and has released some fairly popular art study guides.
That almost certainly sounds like it's the person I'm thinking of. So hey, maybe Ottolino, you're not going to get it all your own way. And again, I'm just completely ignoring Speller here. Speller absolutely deserves to be acknowledged. He was, I believe, one of the top 2 tiers of the Brain of Online Quiz League in multiple seasons. He's been a Div 1 player in QLL for a long time, and I believe also has quite a lot of knowledge in politics as well, which
Mimir
is
Well finalist as well.
him as well finalist as well. I'm just dissing everybody here. Sorry, folks. On game 33 as well, I have played against Trevor Alexander, and if I remember correct, it was a game with a quad on soil. I got the easy first half, and he stomped us with the knowledge on the rest of them. So hey, maybe he's a geology wonk.
He's certainly a very pleasant Canadian. I think knows quite a bit about anything involving the Earth.
Well, very, very pleasant Canadian, just tautology, surely. Anyway, enough of my rampant Canadiophilia. Will, next get games, please. Okay, 37. Who do we have? Kieran Mawaha, Thomas Hart, Veronica Vichy Vatican, and Eugene Hung. Eugene, I believe, the seed there. Chris Moody, Daniel Feitel, Sarah Green, and Andrew Woolley. I think Dan is Dan the seed on that one. Charlotte Orber, Ujwal Deb, Ellie Mustard, and Subrat M. Ujwal the seed there, and Paul Hibbert, Jack Pollock, Simon Wood, and Connor Thompson. Jack the seed. So 3 seeds in seat 2 and 1 in seat 4. Who's there on the American side to talk about?
Looking at these names, quite a few interesting ones. Eugene, very solid all-around player, super deep in classical music, and presumably a few other categories. Dan Feitel, we already mentioned his teammate Chris earlier. knocked me off of winning our table at Learning League Live and made the finals of that just a few weeks ago.
I think I remember Eugene making a point in a discussion thread on OQ about rondos versus bagatelles, how one was not neg rate for the other. And I'm again looking at it and going, what the hell's a bagatelle? I'm out of depth here. So I'm glad Dr.
Yeah,
Ronnie went there.
Eugene definitely, in addition to just like knowing a lot about composers and stuff, has that actual music theory knowledge, which can lead to quite a few points.
Yeah, in the game 39, Ujwal is I believe Indian, but certainly lives in Dutch, lives in the Netherlands. Just generally a lovely guy. He's always happy to see me, which is bizarre, but he's always happy to see me. But I've seen him nail some hard history, some hard sort of Asian culture. I believe a couple of decent humanity stuff. I know he's got quite a surprising width of stuff that I might not expect. I just know he falls down on the pop culture. So like Lauren earlier, this kind of removes that as a weakness. So
Yeah,
I could
there are a lot of areas where Ujwal goes crazy deep
yeah.
on.
And Jack, who as Paul said it posted on Facebook earlier, the top two British players at the UQC were Jackson Pollock. Jack has been okay, Jack has been pulling up trees for a while. He's been in a couple of Mimi's World finals. I know he's I mean, you make the Mimi's World final repeatedly. That just says it all about you as a player. You could always hang with the top ones. Connor Thompson, I think a quiz bowler. I've certainly seen the name a couple of times recently. I believe I've read for him. Name you know?
Yes. I am quite familiar with Mr. Connor Thompson, currently pursuing a mathematics PhD, so crazy deep on that, crazy deep on geography and associated political things, as well as he has those pockets of like esoteric internet knowledge that can lead to points in categories where you would not expect.
Yeah, love the esoteric internet knowledge. Can't
And
can't
Jack
shake it.
Pollock has been on a hot streak for basically all of 2022.
Yeah,
So
Matt has hit his stride. I believe Veronica, I believe, is the OKO US writer, if I remember as well.
yes, I believe
Yeah,
she is a setter for OQL
yeah.
USA, but I do not even know which categories, so
Oh no,
can't
no, no. I'm
can't
just
mark much there. But even just writing that exposes you to a lot of stuff.
well, yeah, writing the stuff anyway, you'll learn. But again,
I believe also a contributor to one of the recent mini leagues. I want to say
ah,
film, but
ooh,
I am not 100% on that. So
the
that could
world,
potentially be another strong area.
yeah, the world cinema one was really genuinely fascinating. Um, I like to think I'm okay on film, but man alive, I'm not okay. I'm not
Yeah,
okay on film.
that's the part of the film distro that I like, even though I'm a faker and haven't seen like 98% of those movies.
Oh, yeah, who has time to watch movies? You go on Letterbox to get all the information you get from there. Okay, thank you, Will. 41 onwards, please. 41 to 44. Okay. Number one, Sanveer Singh, Guy Jordan the Seed, Ajit Nair, and Jules Hawes. Number 42, Matthew Marcus seeded, Eleanor Ayres, Lawrence Cook, and Jacob Menix. 43 is Will Rogers, George Scratchard, Suvajit Chakraborty, and Frederic Jean-Francois. And 44, Joel Miles, Nick Reed, Brian Salmon, and Dan Burgess. George the Seed in 43, Dan in 44. 42 is a sneaky dangerous game. So Matthew Marcus, I'm sure people will hate him for this, but got me into quiz. He was my captain back in the QLL Summer League 4 or 5 years ago. So he's eventually to blame for this. But I know he has a whole load of information, a whole load of knowledge on computing and computer science and all that, with a lot of classics interest. Big crossword fan as well. So what you were saying about Emma, if there's a puzzly quad or anything that requires that kind of lateral thinking, he's going to be well placed to pick up points on that. But with that said, he's drawn Eleanor and he's drawn Lawrence, who I know from playing against them, are tough quantities. Lawrence plays are in the OQL with Mangoes alongside Evan. I believe, they're defending champions or have certainly been champions recently. I could easily see Lawrence pulling off an upset here. I can see Eleanor pulling off an upset if there's a prevailing set as well. So sorry, Matthew, you are not going to have an easy game of it. Guy and Dan are the big American names. Talk to me, tell me.
Guy Jordan is a professor, so he goes crazy deep on a lot of humanities. I believe his specialty is art. So he's gonna have potentially have a lot of openings there to stack some points. Dan Burgess, people may know as being one of the best pop culture players in America, but also a top cut academic player. Done very well in learning league championships, gone on deep mid-years well runs. Joel Miles is a active collegiate quiz bowl player, so potential matchup there. I also believe that is two people who live in Minnesota who are not native Minnesotans in that game.
And they went to Minnesota out of choice. Unbelievable. Chat is happily telling me, thank you, Roko. Questman Melnick played Tier 5 finals or semi-finals despite showing up smashed or hungover to at least half of his games. Pray for him not to be sober when playing. Honestly, goals. Um, Zach has backed up what you said about Connor. Will pick up the stuff on the weird internet knowledge. And Connor has said Joel Miles knows a lots of things. Thank you
Yeah,
for that deep
hi,
analysis
hi,
there.
hi, Joel. Nice Mimir's well game. We played like 3 hours ago.
Yeah, it's always nice when you run into the people over and over again, so long as you win against them and don't have to keep seeing the people who beat you.
Yeah, shout out to Andy Greeley who volunteered to read two of my Mimir games this week, and I thought my email was breaking when I got another Zoom link from him.
Oh, Guy's noted Jeff is coming for my job, going to teach my classes next semester. Go art. So lovely crossover, and one hopes they get drawn against each other, so they have to play from the same room in classic odd couple style. It won't happen, but you can hope for the sitcom moments. Next bunch games, please. Will. Thank you very much. Okay, Diane Halligan, Alan Delotra, Mick Levin, and Toby Cox. I think Toby is the seed there. Yes, he is. Number 46, Oscar Siddle, Nat O'Brien, James Horton, and Greg Peterson. Greg the seed. Srinav Sundarasawan, Liam Hughes, the seeded player there, Sushant Singh and Nisha Pillai, and 48, Roderick Cromar, Ben Rothenberg, Patrick Hope, and Alexander Reisbeck. Patrick is the seed off that one. Patrick got seeded playing last season, making it into tier one, just apparently with no run up whatsoever. And I know he's been absolutely monstering it in OQL.
Yeah, he smacked us around a couple of days ago, so definitely doing quite well on the academic content. A name I was not familiar with, but a very strong player.
Yeah, I think probably a comfortable favorite there. Although again, I've played with and against Roderick. I know the sort of things he can pick up, and if the set leans towards a more British, if the set benefits a British player, he'll take that and make hay with it. So best of luck the others to take down Patrick though, because it's a bit of a juggernaut. Liam in 47, he is one of the people who has not actually played this before. He was one of the two wild card seeds the editors put in off their own back because he is a Cambridge Quiz Bowl player, playing, I believe, alongside Joseph Kroll, who is an absolute monster just at the format in general. When you sort of challenge Kroll to anything, you deserve some respect from people, and maybe this will go some way to giving him that a seed in a competition. Uh, I would absolutely back him to take that game at a canter. I mean, apologies to the other players in it, but you've got Liam Hughes. Apologies to you in general. Greg, tell me about Greg.
My former collegiate quiz bowl teammate,
Yeah, yeah.
Greg. We very much employed the death by a thousand cuts strategy against our opponents, so he has some very strong general knowledge, has read more books than me, and is a lot more of an Anglophile. So he
Lovely.
definitely has some sick pockets of depth, and has played enough EU4 to know a bunch of minor provinces that I've never heard of in geography world.
We do love an Anglophile. I mean, he's definitely not going to have it all his own way. James is, again, somebody I've played with a lot. He is, I believe, a PhD student in physics, or certainly a science-related field, but I think physics. So anything that goes deep on the science is only going to benefit James. I've seen him get some absolute monstrous gets there. So absolute good luck. 45, I quite like the look at as just a game where I don't think I could call it because I don't know Toby that well. I've read for him at a few buzzer quiz things. He's seen like a decent, solid player. But Diane, again, somebody I've read for a few times, and she's just got a lot of accumulated, just good lived quiz knowledge. maybe not so much on sort of the canon as it were, but absolutely something I would never want to never necessarily want to bet against.
Yeah, I know from running into him in Mimir as well multiple times that Toby's quite a good player.
Hmm. You're looking at the chat, aren't you?
Oh,
Who's
of
get
course I'm looking at the chat.
who's getting the abuse? Greg's.
Right now it's me.
I mean, fair. At least it's not me. I'm just getting the abuse in all kinds of messenger chats. I'm sure. Greg, sick pockets of death, Peterson. It's not a nickname that I think is going to take off, but thank you, Emma, for trying. Anyway, with all of that bullshit out the way, 49 onwards, please, Will. Okay, 49. We have Amy Goodell, Abby Akarapong. Sadly, apologies, I will mangle that name. I'm so sorry. Kevin Finn and Catherine Ono. Kevin, I believe the seed there. Jack Hostick, Ishan Chu, Ryan Rosenberg, and Shanine Salmon. John McKenzie, Caroline Latham, Tim Polly, Paul Davis, and Rob Sutherland, Dennis Wang, Eric Mukherjee, and Harry Heath. That 52 is a brute of a game. Now, I know you'll know Eric. Rob is a erstwhile teammate of mine on Misfits, and it's always a boom when he turns up because he has the knowledge in the areas that we don't. Deep literature stuff, a lot of good humanity stuff, a lot of good history content, the areas that I often struggle with. So it's always great to look over and say, he's got a fist. I don't need to think about this weird William Shakespeare deep cut. Straight to Rob. Harry Heath, a mastermind finalist. Dennis Wang, a good quiz bowl player. I know Eric has, I believe, sort of one of the best quiz bowl players, has certainly got that reputation. I believe one of the best
Eric
science people.
Eric is one of the very few players I think who can contend for being the greatest science player of all time in Quiz Bowl, and is a practicing MD. So that sure hasn't gone away. And also during his playing career was also just straight up one of the best history players. So having that much of the distro just on lock is going to get him far, and he's no slouch at anything else either.
Yeah. So hope that he's very busy in the surgery and can't make the game seems to be the play. Well, good luck, Rob, Dennis, Harry, and this is proof that I'm not rigging it because that's just a monster of a game. Um, Tim Polly, I believe used to write a Substack, just a quiz learning Substack. I don't know if he still does that anymore, but the bits that I've seen there are I remember a one on chess grandmasters that he wrote, which was not just the stuff that you might expect on almost a surface level of going into the subject, but went into the deep cuts. And I'm just if he's doing that regularly for a Substack that he's putting out there in public, what the hell is he doing in private that's just for him?
Yeah, Tim has I think is one of the more quote unquote region proof of the American players. I know he's had some crazy deep runs or high scores in WQC and is just in general like a super good geography player,
Mm.
knows quite a bit in the arts too, and is just not somebody I want to be drawing. Very good
Mm,
player all around. And
yeah,
then Ryan Rosenberg, good friend of mine, knows quite a bit of history, super deep on like social
he
sciences,
was he
works
was
as a
involved
data scientist.
he was involved in QB League, the running thereof, wasn't he? So the running and writing.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess Imad just has that kind of exposure. Um, Kevin Finn, if I remember correctly, lives in Irish lives in America. I always see his name with some like 21-6 and 23-7 in OQL. Have you played against him? Because he's I'm not somebody I have any personal exposure to.
If I have, then I'm sorry, Kevin. I don't remember.
Fair enough. We're only two people. We can't be expected to do everything. I mean, certainly Caroline Latham. Definitely very good. Was playing all the time in Wiki Quiz and always doing pretty damn well in those. I know her specialisms are nature as well. She's always asking sort of she wants more nature questions, plants, birds, all of that. Has a lot of that knowledge on lockdown, and I've certainly seen it when I've read for and played against her. Yeah, mad respect. It's an area that I just have absolutely no insight into. So I think would comfortably expect it to take second, probably under Tim. I do believe Ishan. I think Ishan was potentially going to be one of the wild card seeds before Liam and the other person got picked. So it's I don't know his background myself, but I'm told it's an Indian player who's just done a lot of deep stuff in Mim as well. Um, so definitely a dangerous one for Ryan to get. Shanine, shout out to Shanine. just for all of the quiz work you do. But Rip, you've drawn a horrible game here. My
Yeah,
apologies.
I will plus onto the comment from Greg Fano in chat that Ryan Rosenberg is very good at what I will affectionately call middlebrow, which is quads that will sort of border the line where it's like a popular music but artistically significant, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we've asked a little bit about jazz and blues in Pop Culture Challenge, and people have been a bit, is this pop culture? So maybe it'll turn up in ICC, or maybe it'll wait for the middling culture, the MCC.
The
Yeah,
MCC.
the Manchester Cricket Club. I don't fucking know. If cricket turns up in here, then I will be resigning immediately. Just that's on record. Okay, next bunch of games, please. Well, thank you kindly. Okay, game 53, Rocco Surach, Innes Carson, Ian Clark, and Huang Yi. I think Innes is the seed there. I'd have to check because I'll get to that in a minute. Karen Wooding, Darren Monk, Greg Fano of chat, and Andy Chrisley is that Greg is the seed there? Uh, we'll talk about that in a second. Akshak Jain, Vincenzo Tagal, Patrick Carthy, and Eddie Gunning. Patrick, the lead man there, and Vivek Tejuja, Joanna Barnett, David House, and Anu Kashyap, Anu the seed. So for 54, I said we'll talk about that. Greg is seeded. I'm surprised Darren isn't. Because I've every time I've seen him, he's just picked up some nasty, nasty gets and always beaten us. I've never beaten his teams in anything I've played. So, Darren, please help me out. Just throw one occasionally. Um, so, Greg, absolutely best of luck. If you're seeded, and what I've got is a tier 2 finish last time and a tier 4 finish in season 1. Obviously, the skills there, but I think with Darren in play, that's going to be a tough race for first.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
Mm. A good one, Dylan Minarik, 2022. 53. I had to check that Innes was the seed, and Innes is a deserved seed. Ian not being seeded is not possibly a surprise as well, because Ian is, like a couple of other players, has the sort of the general knowledge that he's picked up over years and years, or years and years of quizzing, but also years of travel. He's all routinely posting his travels for all over the globe. He is massively well traveled, and I envy it immensely. So if something comes up about an archaeological site in Jordan, he's gonna be slapping that down for casual. Yes, I've been there. I've got the T-shirt for it. It's lovely. Who else have we got here? I believe Vivek as well tests for OQO UK, so much appreciated there. Anu was a Mim as well winner a couple of seasons ago. Is that right?
Yep, he's gotten the ring. I think he's made it to the finals again at least once. Super nice guy, former elite high school quiz bowl player, former spelling bee champion.
Oh,
Was like hibernated from quiz for several years, came back in the Zoom era, and just keeps getting better.
so if there's a quad on spell this awful word, he's going to absolutely nail it. God, I hope there is. Um, Patrick Carthy in 55, another person who I think was at the UQC, definitely one of the best Irish players on the circuit. I'd say comfortably, you're talking him, Lorcan Duff, Mark Henry, and Dave McBride up there in the upper echelons, and he absolutely does all of that to keep himself in there. On past performances, tier 2 last time, tier 4 the time before that, quite possibly just getting better. Also, I realized I didn't actually mention Innes was the seed as well. Tier 4, tier 3, and 60 own gets last season without making one of the top 4 tiers is just deeply unfortunate. I think deeply unfortunate scheduling. So absolutely somebody I would probably say he'd take over Ian, but that is again not one that I'd like to call. Assuming Rocco doesn't come out of nowhere and take it, Rocco, I'm expecting you to come into the chat and say, why aren't you talking me up? And it's fair. Why aren't I talking you up? Anyway, any other names that are jumping out that we want to get into?
Um, I
No?
think that you've covered most of the ones.
I'll do what I can.
Vincenzo, maybe the best current quizzer
Ah,
out of the Philippines.
of course, yeah, an OQL player who I believe routinely gets up at absurdly early hours of the morning. We stand.
Yeah,
In
has some
we
of the
stand.
most has shown some of the most like beautiful Zoom backgrounds I've seen as the sun is rising behind him and we're playing at like noon.
Oh, Flawless. Okay. Coming into the last, the final straight, Will. 57 onwards, please. Okay. We have 57, Vikram Rajan, James Davidson, Balaji Srinivasan, and Chris White. I'll check. Chris White is our seed there. 58, Rowan Ward with capitals. Unbelievable. Rowan Ward, Ian DeLille, Manoj Saranathan, and Rose Curtin. Rowan, tournament champions. We love to see it. Seeded there. Jeffrey Sigurd and Frederick Bush, Wes Kington, and James Murphy. I believe that's Fred, who is the seed. And Emma Napper, Edward Stan, Claire Barrow, Daniel Lawson, Edward the seed there. Lot of good Americans in there. This is all on you, my dude.
Oh boy. Chris White played high level collegiate quiz bowl a generation or two before me, super deep on the arts, I believe.
Looks like a
Strong player all around. Rowan,
tier two twice, and
yeah,
tier three once, so always in the upper brackets.
Rowan Ward, already a very good and prolific player, and then they got on Jeopardy again and have been going absolutely ham ever since.
Most importantly, making people Twitter angry by having a personality. We absolutely love to see it.
And then Jeffrey Siguratan, perhaps the most well-traveled man in quiz, at least in Zoom
Oh, yeah.
rooms, knows quite a bit of stuff. Fred Bush, another former collegiate quiz bowl player, also very good at humanities, I believe.
Mhm. I know Edward Stan he's Romanian. I believe he's one of the only Romanian seeds actually. And I believe also another person who was at the UQC. Romania just kind of always generally an up and coming nation with Eduard Marius and a couple of the other good and promising players. He's drawn an unlucky one. Claire Barrow, I believe, is also in the same mastermind grand final as Harry Heath, drawn earlier. And Dan Lawson was, I forget if he won University Challenge, but he was definitely in the final a couple of seasons ago. So Edward has drawn a quietly quite difficult game, I think. Something that leans towards the international is only ever going to benefit him, but if it does go sort of almost quiz bowl cannon heavy, I would look to Dan to take that.
Yeah, shout out to Romania. You guys have always been very easy to schedule with, despite being on the other half of the world.
General shout out to Romania in general. You guys are awesome. Um, no, I believe, yeah. Good luck, James Murphy. One of the pop culture players, one of our good pop culture players from over here. Best of luck in this competition. It's going to be an experience. I'm rooting for you.
I may be showing my ass by making this joke, but is that the guy from LCD Sound System?
Let's go with yes. Chat, give him some applause. There we go. All right. I see. I feel bad. I know Balaji and Manoj are both people who've played Okuo US. I think maybe even on the same team, and they're another group of players where they're commenting, and the comments they make in the question talk always seem to have they have some merit to them. They have a lot of sort of just general quiz understanding of quiz, if that's not a really vague thing to say. I know Manoj was discussing sort of religion and the questions that came up there, and in a manner that shows, yeah, this is somebody who actually has a lot of quite deep knowledge. Is just always going to look to have that rewarded. So maybe there's a sneaky way through. I do think Rowan takes that one regardless in 58.
Yeah, I wish that Facebook was not like literally the worst medium on the planet for group discussion, because as much as I enjoy dissecting some quiz questions, doing so in a Facebook comment thread
Mm.
is never the funnest.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like
Zoom quizzing Discord when,
there's too many discords. Too many discords. Guy.
or PHP forums return.
So Guy has also pointed out Jeffrey, on top of being the most traveled man in quiz, has the best handwriting. His trivia notebooks are beautiful and flawless. His penmanship is exquisite. Works of art. Get them in the National Archives. James has confirmed he is not the James Mercy from LCD Sound System. Paddy Paddock.
I'm so glad that the LCD Sound Systems guy's name is actually James Murphy, because I was only like 80% sure.
You took your shot. It landed. It's good. Paddy Daft Punk is playing at his house, but has then said, Ronny, I love you, but you're bringing me down. That's how it works, my dude. Okay, 61 onwards, please, Will. Okay, There he is, Paddy Pammett. We said his name when he turned up. Pam Douglas, Paddy Pammett, Ed Mason, and seeded Mark Grant. Anupama Srinivasan, Barry Simmons, I believe the seed there. Scott Smith and Andrew Townsley. McKinney Sizemore, I think Happy Birthday McKinney, who is our seed. Aaron Wegner and Andrew Rout. Jenna Cowlin in the game. And Callum McClements, John Liu, Vinu Sanjay, and Rahim Dina. That game 62, Barry Simmons, obviously long-time egghead, very well known to the British quizzes, is known for being a monster at mythology. Just absolutely rock solid on that anytime it comes up. I know there's been a quad on Egyptian deities that was not by any means level one. It was just like too easy. Absolutely nailing that out of the park. So anything that comes up there, I think he's a lock to start slamming that. Who else we got? Paddy is probably not going to be happy with this, but Mark Grant, a long-time QLL quizzer, long-time top-tier QLL quizzer, regular teammate of, I believe, sort of Olav and Co. So always rubbing elbows with the top echelons. Another mastermind grand finalist a couple of times. I don't believe has ever won it, but is always just absolutely nailing some of the toughest content. I believe put in a specialist subject on the theatres of Frank Matcham in one of the grand finals and just absolutely saluting the love of it.
I'll pretend I know what that is. None
It's
of
just
those words are in the U.S. Declaration of Independence.
Theatres. That's good enough. Lincoln theatre. Job done. McKinney. I know McKinney. I know McKinney a little. You probably know him better. Where's the man's specialties?
I don't actually know McKinney's academic specialties, but I certainly know that he has played a lot of Quiz Bowl, so he's got those bases covered. Definitely going to be a tough out for anybody. And that's, I think, a very strong game in general.
Yeah, so Andrew, again, I may well be talking out my arse. I apologize if I am, which I probably am. Andrew was the opposing captain to Daniel in the University Challenge final. So one of those two is a University Challenge winner. And I'm sorry for suggesting the one who wasn't isn't. But like I've said about Max, like I've said about James DS, anyone who gets to the grand final is always going to be, has that knowledge covered, even if it's not necessarily Quiz Bowl canon. It's, I believe, what somebody said earlier in the thread about Quiz Bowl academic knowledge versus IQA knowledge. There's definitely a divide there, and I think Andrew is on the IQA side of things more. So
the old academic versus continental philosophy.
Oh yeah,
analytic
yeah.
versus continental philosophy.
We'll look at that game as just a way to decide it once and for all. Vinu in the game 64, an Indian player, Indian seed. Let me
FLQL powerhouse.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. FLQL Flames. I believe Zephyr. Zephyr Quiz League. He's playing in. If it's an Indian quiz competition, he's in it, and he's always in the top tier of it. But the last two seasons of this tier three, played Mim as well. I think he's sort of 5-1 in the last Mim as well season I saw him. So
I believe results of the current week pending. He is still in kind of contention there as well.
Yeah, that I was just going to say it might be the first Indian player or the first Asian player to make it into the grand final, and that wouldn't shock me in the slightest. I believe he beat me in one of the last games I played in Mim as well, fairly comfortably. It's just really quite nasty. Paddy, by the way, you were saying about jazz earlier. Paddy is a massive jazz fan, has been begging me for more jazz in quiz, and I've been denying him so far. So, maybe this is your time, Pammett. It probably won't be, but maybe it is.
Paddy, 2 seasons back, retroactive thanks for posting all the score sheets.
There you go. See? Good man, Pammett. Good man. Okay, moving on. 65 to 68. 65 there. Alex Overhill, Andreas Kroll, Jonathan Elliott, and Richard McNair. Jonathan is our seed there. Margaret Brown, Long Win, Somashish Gosh, and Joseph Taylor. I think Long is the seed. I'd be very surprised if that was not the case. Very much is the case. Dave Turnbull, Jack Bennett, Sten Freiberg, and Eric Wolfsberg. Jack is the other wild card seed, not somebody who hasn't played this competition before, but was seeded just on general performance. And David Taylor, Sanya Nawalka, Jason Butler, and Victoria Gross. Guess who's the seed there once again? Now, you were saying you wanted to shout out Eric.
Yeah, Eric Wolfsberg could be the best unseeded player in this league. He has done little to no Zoom quizzing, but was a strong player on one of the two best collegiate quiz bowl teams in the country last year. Super deep on some science stuff, ton of just overall general knowledge, and I could see him really going off in this competition.
This is interesting because not the no Zoom quiz thing is a particular point. So Jack has been Division One QLL for just as long as he's been playing, sets a whole bunch of stuff, writes a whole bunch of stuff. I think he's still doing his sort of question blasts, but has done a reasonable amount of Zoom quizzing. And the question is, how much is Eric's deep knowledge going to help with Mimir strategy? It's a question. It's a question to factor into it. Will he have will he have good kind of bonus etiquette, understand how to manage the bonus queue and such like, or will he just be firing at everything?
Yeah, some of the calculus on do I buzz on this toss up
Mm,
versus do I take this bonus attempt? Some of that, but not all of that transfers.
mm. Let's see how much of it. Well, let's see how much of it, assuming that's going to be the one game will decide the entire thing. Um, Victoria, yeah. So what is it? Two-time winner and grand finalist in number three. What do you say?
Yeah.
Is she going to do it again?
I don't know. Like she is absolutely in that tier of contenders and one of the favorites, but once you get up to that level, it just becomes a big question mark to me.
It's all a big question mark. I mean, once again, another person at the UQC won the pairs competition with somebody named Kevin. God only knows who that was. Won the club competition in the contention for the individuals. You could just list her quiz achievements as well for as long as the day goes. But at some point, I need to go to bed. Good luck the people in that game. Good luck Jason. Good pop culture player stepping into the
Yeah,
ICC.
the
Yeah,
strategy to beat Victoria is to also be really good and to pray.
really hit the praying button. Um, Long, I placed a buzzsaw on the OQL, and again, is another person who I just keep routinely seeing dropping 20-point performances. Like, do you know much about him on the specifically academic side, or is he just one of those general all round general knowledge good players?
I believe that his strengths are in academic and not pop culture.
Okay.
Played Quiz Bowl at Georgia Tech quite a while ago. Knows a whole lot of stuff. Going to be a tough out for anybody.
Mm. He's going to be, yeah, likely to take this game then, I'd imagine. And yeah, Jonathan Elliott, the seed there. One second, and while I grab the again top three tiers twice. Didn't play last time, but top tier three, tier two. It's not like ICC was in the early days of MIM as well. There was a much smaller competition, easier to get to the top tiers. ICC has almost always been in the 200, 250 level. They've always been the best players in the world playing this. So tier three upwards is always going to be an achievement. So presumably going to be looking to, well, you'd assume looking to repeat it. I don't think anyone goes into assuming to go, yeah, I'll go into tier 15. I'll punch below my weight. Let's do this. I might. That sounds like fun. Okay, next load of games, please, Will. It's 69. Grant de Jong, Doyana Shirola, Jim Mudrak, Jeremy Alapatu. Anyone who puts nice in the chat, I will ban. 70.
I was really hoping I was number 69. I'm not gonna lie.
You're just encouraging them. You're just encouraging them. Number 70, Zhao Ying. Apologies if that's pronounced wrong. Mike Olsen, Victor Pavao, Tracy Merkin, Tracy to see there.
That game's
71,
low-key really good.
yeah. David Harris, Paul Emerson, James Lasker, and Paul Curtain. David Harris the seed, and Francis Boyle, Ravi Mandoli, Ewan Munro, and Stu Hearn. Ewan was, I believe, the last person confirmed as seed, literally today. So on the bubble between seed and not seed, I think that's a game Ewan will be relatively happy with. You were saying about a top tier film player. Ewan again, just the depth of film he goes into is nonsensical. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. I haven't seen him play that much to say, yeah, this is a Yogesh level player, but maybe it's a Yogesh level player.
There's not very many of those. There may only be one.
There's a handful, and maybe that hand only has one finger. So the game in seeded number 69, I forgot to say, was Doyana Shirola. For a long time, the best female player anywhere in the world, still almost certainly in the top two. Has just been doing this for a long time, and again has that kind of a little bit of the lived quiz knowledge, but has been doing the GPs, doing doing the sort of formal quizzes for many, many years, back to the dates of the very first World Quiz Championship. So has almost seen quiz evolve, but from what I could tell, has certainly gone with the evolution. You were saying 70 is a low-key game?
Yeah, that's a good one. Don't know much about Schalke. I think she's had a good run on Jeopardy back in the day. Mike Olson, our stats guru over in the
Yep.
USA,
Mad shout out.
has
Mad
some
shout.
solid sciences knowledge. Victor Paveo is the only person I know who wrote a entire jazz quiz bowl tournament and just generally knows quite a lot about all things musical, and I believe is a fellow comrade in software engineering, so has got some science depth too. And then Tracy in 2021 got so good that he turned Florida from like being a tier 1B to like being one of the two or three best collegiate quiz bowl teams in the country
Mm.
and winning nationals.
Yeah, I got Trace.
Yeah,
Tra
mega deep on history, not weak at anything. Contender to win this whole thing, honestly.
Yeah, Tracy was one of the names. I think plays with Taylor Harvey. I think I've seen a game that they've played together on YouTube somewhere. And it's, again, yeah, exactly what you said. Just super deep on history and just no weaknesses. So, good luck everybody playing against them. James Lasker, I believe, another quiz bowler.
Yep, has played on some very high level quiz bowl teams in the past, is a astrophysicist and was good enough in those categories to be playing on a team with Eric and still getting some science questions. So
Yeah.
crazy deep on science and no slouch elsewhere either.
Mm. Which is interesting. So I know David Harris is the seed here. He is one of the higher level Scottish players. My understanding is his specialty is humanities, but literature to a depth that very few people go to. So this really could well be a one where the set decides it. Something that's hard science heavy, James will take. Lit heavy, David will take. It's that kind of ilk. Apologies to Paul Catane. I don't know your specialism. So hell, come through, make me look like an idiot for not rating you, please. Always here to be made look an idiot. Will, last group of four, and then we'll have one final game remaining.
Could be
Okay,
anybody.
could be anybody. We have number 73, Armand Sanchez, number Rick Grimes, Frank Paul, and Neil Coleman. Rick, I think the seed there. Will Travis, Rob Sobchak, Jimmy Lee, and Vim Vanry. I think Jimmy is our seed. Yes, he is. Espen Kibsgaard, Ben Samko, Gerard McHugh, and John Violet. Espen is our seed in that one. And Claire Hayward, Hari Kadapa, Akshay Gurumurthy, and Mark Ryder, where we have Mark is getting the nod there. Tier 4, Tier 5, Tier 5. So probably, again, another one like you and on the bubble of being seeded and not seeded. What's his deal? I know he's an American player. I think he's one of the longer tenured players.
Yeah, Mark's a very strong player. Can pick up stuff all over the place in highbrow land. Definitely is going to be a tough out for pretty much anybody.
Yeah.
Rob Sobchak is somebody who, while not seeded, is pretty dangerous just based on the fact that he is now 2 years in a row placed very, very high in the Learned League
mm,
championships. I believe top 10 twice.
mm. Yeah, I remember seeing his name up there, and I knew him as a writer. I didn't realize he had the quiz pedigree to go with it. So yeah, but again, apologies for underrating you there, Rob. Jimmy, I think a worthy seed.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
do you
Jimmy's
see?
real good.
Yeah, Jimmy, real good. There we go. That's all the analysis we need. Um,
Another one of
mm,
these strong contenders for nicest man in quiz, nicest
accurate.
human in quiz even.
Accurate. I read a few games for the Wednesday Academic Purists, and there's always an absolute gent there. 73 really interests me because I understand Rick Grimes as the seed, deservedly the seed. Frank Paul is quite known in the UK quiz community for being he won Only Connect and has been for a while producing quizzes that are very unusual, the very twisty, very lateral thinking, very puzzly ones, some absolutely rock hard stuff. And I can really believe he's got just a ton of highbrow knowledge from researching this and looking into those angles. So what is Rick's background?
I know very little other than that he's quite good.
He is indeed quite good. Sometimes it's all you need to say about a person. Espen, I will check again, but I think another one of the UQC players, if I can actually look the bloody things up. I really should have had this preloaded, but that would be being
Man,
said.
you guys are watching the sunset in Chicago like in real time on this stream.
Meanwhile, behind me, it's pitch black.
Yeah,
Uh,
let's get some moons going in the chat.
I don't know what mood you want. No, George, get out of the way, babe. Yeah, shoot. There you go. Sod off. Sorry, folks. My cat's just coming in and causing an absolute problem. Anyway, I think let's round this up then. The sun is setting, so let us continue on. It's still light in Norway. Number 77, please, featuring Dylan Minarik. Minarik. I actually don't know how to pronounce your last name. I apologize.
Yep. My family says Minarik. I believe that Minarik is more accurate in the words of my Eastern European ancestors, but they are long since deceased, so I can't exactly ask them.
Either's fine then. Dylan, Gilles-Bourg, Bojendu Basker, and Troy Harris. Dylan, you are the seed. Dylan, you are a tier 1 player in the past. How are you feeling about this draw?
Can't say I know much about these fellows. I think I've played against Jill before, and Troy is a Quiz Bowl coach or Quiz Bowl affiliated player, so potential that he has some of that canon stuff. Last time I played this competition, I was the overall #1 seed. We won't talk about what happened in the playoffs, but I think I'm going to be a pretty strong overall player. There are certain categories and subsets of categories that I'm going to brick on, but also certainly
And
have the capability
yeah.
to just go the distance.
So what are those categories that you're going to brick on, just to let everybody know what to focus on?
Things that don't come up in Quiz Bowl.
There we go.
More specifically, some of the more technical stuff in biochem and some of the more dry atlasy geography.
The quote unquote Atlas awful, as people have called it. No, that's fair. That is fair. I mean,
I will save my opinions on various questions corner for a different Zoom.
do it now, Cal. Let's just cut the feed and then you can tell me all about it while I record it. There we go, folks. That is 77 games. You are in, presumably, if you're watching this, you're in one of them. If you're not in this watching, why? You can't be that interested in hearing us talk for 80 minutes. Anyway, emails will be going out later if they haven't already started going out. Be nice, be considerate to other people when you do scheduling, and I guess that's it. Any last words from you, Dylan?
Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Get your shit posts off in the chat before it closes. Let's see what else. Good luck, everybody. It's gonna be 6+ weeks of fun. Don't schedule while other people are at work.
It is that is a party foul. Make sure that everybody's seen it before you book in games, and tip your QMs.
Yes.
And I think on that note, thank you very much. Now go away and enjoy your Sunday.
Yeah, have a good
Bye.
one, everybody. Go get some rest if you need it, and best of luck in week 1. If we're lucky, then I may see you on the 1s and 2s again, even though there's only so many ways that I can say, yeah, this person is good.
Many people are good in quiz. It turns out many people are good. And on that note, that's it. Thank you very much. Will, cut the feed.